MT Knives, coming to you from the Ozarks of Missouri. Tonight we're going to do a little question and answer. Um, let's, who knows what the spot price of silver is currently? We'll see. Um, this last week, didn't just whatever, I don't know. Didn't get quite as much done as I hoped to, but we spent some time with some friends. It was nice. Spent some time with some family. And anyways, I'm out here in the shop. Don't know if you can see my breath. It's cold. But I was going to set up, maybe do some sharpening, but ran out of time. I am working on getting the beams welded in and trying to get the floor in on the second story. So that's what I've been working on. Hopefully my mic is working well. Um, if you guys have any questions, feel free. I think I can see questions on here. Hopefully I can see questions. Let me see if I can. Let me see if there's somebody comments on maybe. Let me see. What's this? 40-second. I don't know what that was. Oh, that's uploaded a short. That'll be a great short. So, anyways, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just learning here. Let's see. Is there a chat? Top fans. What's that? There we go. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I hope I can see your comments if you make them. Green screen. No, we don't want. Whoa, hey, what happened? I'm just pushing buttons. There we go. We'll figure it out. What's that? Lighting on? I don't know what that is. Lighting off? Hey, maybe this button. Chat filter, top messages. Let's see. All messages. There we go. Welcome to live chat. There we go. Anyways, all right. Yeah. It's all good. Hey, man, how's it going? We'll figure it out. So yeah, who knows what the silver spot price is? I've been watching the silver price. It's been crazy. What does that have to do with knives? I don't know. Silver hit over $80 this weekend. 80, almost 85, I think. Dropped back down. It's around 72 currently, I think. So there's your market update. So yeah, I was hoping to get the I-beams welded in here for the floor today. I ended up having to make 2 trips to town because some stuff got forgot in my order. So made a second trip to town, picked up all the steel that I need. I got my columns welded in today, and I was going good. My son said something, and I didn't listen. I wasn't sure what he was saying, and I welded up my second column just to find out that I forgot to plumb it the other direction. So then I proceeded to cut my welds and start over. So that was fun. But I got both columns in, and hopefully I'll get the I-beams up tomorrow, get my support on the other wall, and start getting the floor in here. Today's Tuesday. That's when we do our live. And if you're not here normally, every Tuesday, 7 o'clock, go live, do different reviews, sharpening, and just catch you up on what's been happening around the homestead over the last week. So I'm hoping to, let's see if I can spin the camera around. But I'm blinded by the light. So there we got. Help if I didn't have the lighting messed up, but I've got these 2 4x4-inch columns welded in, anchored down to the ground, ready for putting my I-beam up. that piece of steel right there is going to attach to the wall here and hold the other end of the I-beam. We'll have two I-beams, 20 foot here and there. And then there'll be some other supports like that up on the front. And that's what I'll be welding my C-purlins into. And then the C-purlins will run across the I-beam for the second story. So I was going to wait to put it in, but it's easier to get done now while there's not stuff in the way, especially with welding, the sparks and the dirt and the grinding, all that kind of stuff. So I was going to wait to do that, and can start now. Brad, good to see you. I'll start all over just for you. No, you can catch up later. So anyways, Brad, I was just telling people I got the two columns in, hopefully putting up I-beams tomorrow and starting on the second story floor. So Brad's supposed to come down and help, but I think he's got some excuses about being busy or something like that. So it's amazing how quickly a space can fill in. And I really didn't want, in some ways, I didn't want to put these columns in because I'm sure at some point they'll be in the way of like moving stuff in or moving stuff around. But it's kind of hard to put in a second story without some support. You can only span so far. So something that I find really interesting is I set the laser up on this column to make some marks and for my wall and where things mark the other column, mark this wall, everything. So everything's nice and level. And it is unbelievable how much vibration transfers through structures. So when I was working on the barn, that's a 65-foot span from the one end of the barn to the other. And I had my laser set up, and people would be walking or moving and it would jiggle, the laser, and the laser would be bouncing around. And so trying to mark it, it's like, hey, everybody just sit still for a minute so I can mark, get these marks for my level and all that kind of stuff. Well, tonight I had the laser on this center column, and I set that steel beam up against the wall, and I seen the laser, wiggle, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And so I did it again, and sure enough, just setting that channel iron, which is 1/4 inch, it's a 2x4 1/4 inch wall steel tubing. It's kind of heavy, but just setting it against the wall shook that center column enough to make the laser vibrate and bounce. I remember watching an episode of Smarter Every Day where they were using lasers to measure the James Webb Telescope. It had some big thing that folds out, a shield or something, and they had to measure it precisely. And so it's crazy when you get into macro photography or measuring or, lots of different things where any kind of vibration or taking something out of focus, how that can be affected. And in that video, they were saying that just a helicopter flying overhead, they would pick it up in their machine and it would skew their measurements. And so they'd have to wait for that kind of stuff to go by. So when it gets to precision, when you get to measuring precision stuff, it's interesting how difficult it is to get accurate readings without interference. So I say all this to say, because I've done a little bit of like trying to get some good macro photography or video. And one of which is trying to focus my camera on my sharpener while sharpening and get some really close up shots. And what happens is just the machine running vibrates the camera. And so I was kind of hoping once I had this shop done that I could have some mounts on some solid objects like a concrete wall or a steel post, and hopefully be able to capture some video footage without interference. But and it should, I think, I hope, hopefully I can get some better footage in the new shop. But it's crazy what type of how creative you have to get when it comes to getting good photography and stuff like that. I think some of the like macro photographers, they use basically extremely heavy tables with, I believe, some sort of like air bushing or something like that that kind of isolates the table from the vibrations in the ground and surrounding things. So yeah, makes me kind of wish I would have poured 8-inch walls, but still, I don't think it. I'm not sure how much mass you would need to not have vibrations travel through like that. So maybe you can tell me, Brad. Maybe you know. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting. I'm easily amused by things like that. I have not got an update on my garage door installation. I'm hoping it gets installed here in the next week or two. Yeah, it is. It's kind of funny because years ago, well, it's been several years ago, I had a guy who was CNCing my handles for my Genesis knife. And I like really tight tolerances and I like precision. And um, second floor was stairs. So I'm planning on a 10 by 40 second floor. And for now, I'm just going to build that. And I was thinking I might put in a like drawbridge type stairs because I don't want stairs in the way with things. I'd put a ladder, but then that's not as convenient as stairs. So I'm thinking I'll have a set of stairs that will drop down. So it probably won't get done right away, but that's what I'm thinking. I'll probably, I don't have exactly figured out what I'm going to do upstairs, but there's a lot of storage, um, packing supplies and things that, you don't need all the time. That would be good just to have additional storage. And I'd like to have, I don't know, just some hangout space up there. So, um, talking about precision and CNC and handles. So, um, so the guy that was making my handles, what most people do to account for something like this is um, they just, for like CNC handles, they would either have the handles be undersized to where they don't really extend out to the full size of the knife, or and that's what they typically do. Like there'll be 10 thou or 20 thou of the scales will be undersized. And what will happen is that way for the variance from knife to knife, you won't notice, you won't, the scales won't be, they won't be hanging over, but I just don't like that. Um, but then the other problem is I was putting pockets on my scales, or I put pockets on my scales that fit into the cutouts of the knife, so that once the knife scales are in there, they're tight. There's no movement, and basically the screws just hold the scales on. Um, anyhow, he made some really nice scales, but he was telling me that he'd have to recalibrate his machine, his CNC, because it was kind of a bigger CNC and it was in a shed and it wasn't climate controlled. He was talking about how the temperature changes, his tolerances and all that kind of stuff. And so um, it's just crazy to think when you're trying to hold super tight tolerances, how many things can affect that, whether it be temperature, uh, you know, vibration, just machines get off slack and belts, or whatever type of whatever you're using. So to me, precision seems like it would be simpler than it is, but it's not. It's very complex. So anyhow, when I got my own CNC, I started figuring out, yeah, it seems simple until you try it. Speaking of which, I'd like to get a 3D printer one of these days. And same thing, like you can 3D print stuff. There's some shrinkage involved in different things that, um, yeah, it's all precision. When you get down to the details, is when you start trying to get to small measurements, it's affected by all sorts of things. So, anyways, what else do I want to talk about? What else really talk about? I'm hoping to get started on my limited edition knives shortly. Um, I'm mainly trying to get the shop closed in so I can heat it and start moving tools in. I got to make a trip to pick up some insulation for the ceiling, and along with the flooring supplies that I bought today, I bought some stuff to close in the gap up top. And so we'll see how this week goes. Hopefully, I can get a lot of that knocked out. But, anyways, I didn't have a whole lot for you guys tonight. I'm going to cut this short, and we'll see you next week. I hope you guys, I won't talk to you guys again until probably next year. So, anyways, hope you guys have a great rest of your year, and we'll see you next year, next Tuesday at 7. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Patrick with MT Knives. Stay sharp.